Up until today, there is this general notion that youth, even on a global scale, are dependent on what previous generations have formulated for them. Among others, this includes setting goals and policies that the next generation are beholden to. As we celebrate our nation's 64th anniversary, have we cultivated an environment that is inclusive and considerate of youth voices and their roles in society? What are their thoughts on the current affairs in Malaysia today?
I don't think government have listened our young voice, but it's only my opinion.
Youth voices tend to not be heard by the younger people, by the older people, and this is because that they believe that they have less experience compared to the ones that have age.
Between the older and the younger generations, there are a lot of disharmonization between all parties. I'm not saying about race also. I'm also talking about sex and also about the age group, because you can see that the older generations always thinks that the younger generations, you haven't walked through the fire pits to understand the real world yet.
I think if you are looking at youth empowerment today, we are probably the strongest now compared to years ago. If we look at the Lawan protest recently by young people, I think because of social media, they can get themselves organized very quickly. Those days, we rely on SMS, we rely on very, very conservative approach. Somebody like Syed Saddiq, he does TikTok. TikTok is something, not even a long speech, but he can reach his audience. So there are so many creative ways to enlighten youth about the political process, about an issue. For example, the girl Ain on sexual harassment in school, about period poverty. These are issues that came about because of social media accounts, right? So everybody, in that sense, the youth, you have an Instagram account, you have a platform for you to speak.
So what does our youngest former minister have to say?
There's pessimism in a way where the older guards are unwilling to let go of their seats of power, their thrones of power, to bring in a lot more young people into the decision-making process. And that cuts across almost all parties. And that's where the problem lies, where they see young people as immature, as incapable, as inexperienced, subpar and suboptimal to those who are much, much older. While in reality, what we lack in experience, we make up with our enthusiasm, passion, disruptive thinking, critical thinking, and we're able to do a lot of things a lot better if given a chance and opportunity to do so. And this is why I say it's not just a new phenomenon in terms of getting young people into decision-making positions. I'm not just talking about politics, I'm talking about all echelons of society. Because if the old guards, established political parties, are unwilling to change, they will be disrupted, they will be removed, and they will not be able to capture and control the enthusiasm of young people, which is a very a high-speed train coming your way, and if you are unable to shift direction, then it will smash you. And when I say smash you, I think for the betterment of Malaysia. I was very optimistic at first when I listened to Ismail Sabri's first announcement, where he said that he will want to represent young people a lot more, youth issues to be factored in. But when you look at the cabinet announcement, I think more than 90% of those announced were the same faces of the Kerajaan Gagal, which UMNO as a party took down, and now suddenly UMNO agreed. Well, 90% plus of the same members. And the new members who are brought in are not people like Fadli Syari from PAS, are not people like Sharil Hamdan from UMNO, not people like Lukan Isman of GPS. These are all young, talented people, even though they are on the opposite end. I've worked with them. I know they are good people with many ideas, much, much better than old guards. But the ones who are brought in are the warlords.
Do you think that is a bit too dramatic to brand it that way? Because, you did mention something about, the older, I guess those who are in charge tend to kind of gaslight whatever ideas that comes from the young, right? And that is because they have this perception that the youth are disillusioned. Our energy or the enthusiasm might sometimes be perceived as us being restless.
As long as you don't give young people the opportunity to open the doors for them, then it is an inherently unequal playing field. The older generations already have built decades-long worth of network. They have the financial capital like no one else. They've had the years of experience built, and at the same time, they have a system in which favors them over young candidates. And that's where the problem lies. I think once you give the opportunity to the youth generation, I believe they will be able to open the doors for themselves and for many other young people, despite the fact that they may not come from the same political party, established party, or corporate structure.
Movie 18 does release certain programs or events that you always get really good reception from young people. I think it really goes to show, right, that young people are just so hungry for this sort of opportunities. There's always an eagerness and a need to prove ourselves, to show that we are more than capable to engage in this sort of discourse. Young people are often dismissed as saying like, you're not smart enough, you're not mature enough. But through events, for example, like Parliament Digital, Fellow Parliament Malaysia, and now Dewan Muda Malaysia, it is proving otherwise. It is showing that young people are more than willing and are more than competent to step up to this leadership position and to upscale themselves accordingly in the arena of like Malaysian politics. It is restlessness, right? Like I mentioned before, we are so eager to prove ourselves. So there is restlessness, there is a lot of youth energy, and also let's add in a bit of idealism in there. Why not? If I can elaborate on this, like I mentioned before, I really think it is human nature for us to want to prove ourselves, to contribute, but this is an opportunity that is just not easily granted to young people in Malaysia. So we're just left with so much eagerness and so much potential, but nowhere to showcase it. And in recent times, I think what has helped as a tool, it's social media. And I really want to give a special shout out to Instagram and to TikTok, because it really has cultivated such a strong generation of informed and socially conscious individuals, more than before, right? Because of these independent platforms, we are now being informed about our rights. What are the red flags? We are self-teaching ourselves what is the best case scenario, what are things that we should watch out against and fight back against. And we have so many points of references of young people, especially our own peers, who have been successful in challenging back and enacting change, right? And I think why it has been even more successful, the recent protests and movements, is that young people now are just so much more informed and empowered, and because of social media, we also know how to mobilize so much more quickly and to adapt quickly to keep the momentum and the conversation going. And I trust and I sincerely believe that it's just not going to stop. We are going to be seeing more of these movements because there are more points of references and evidence of successful youth activism happening at the moment.
When we look at the level of enthusiasm behind the present social setup that our youth engages in, it is clear that Malaysia's next gens are taking responsibility in their own path of righteousness. But is there support amongst fathers and mothers who were once young themselves?
I don't think it's disillusion at all. I think they're voicing out their concerns. I think it's great that these concerns are concerns that are looking forward. It's always been planned for your future, right? Save for retirement, plan your career, so it's basically the same thing. It's all just looking forward. So these Undi 18, Lawan, and how you make school a safer space is all looking towards the future, and I don't know what, the people who, let's make school a safer space, there is a part of them, subconsciously or not, these are youths. We're talking about Ain's age, some of them are teenagers. These are youths. Yes, a part of them wants to make schools a safer space for themselves. But subconsciously, I don't know whether they realize this or not, there's a part of them that want to make schools a safer space for the next generation of youths. It's a common thing to see with people who try to effect change, or people who want to start revolutions, that quite a number of them don't see the revolution bearing fruit. They start it, but oftentimes it's somebody else who bring it to a conclusion.
So when it comes to youth rights, it needs to be advocated by youth themselves. Is that also what you're trying to say?
Yes, I think they understand their generation the best.
Sekarang ni Malaysia kita, kalau kita nampak, they are still with this, old timer punya style. Kan, we respect them and from them we learn. Tapi sekarang punya generation dah berbeza. Anak kita sendiri pun, it's not like us. Bukan macam kita dulu. Dulu kita mendengar kan. Dulu kita dengar cakap orang. Sekarang ni the parents have to listen to the kids. Means sama juga dengan youth. So the older we get, the more we need to listen because they are in the ground. They are dia orang yang nampak, dia orang yang tahu, and dia orang yang bentuk how the future is going to be look like.
We are the future for our country, because if we are not here, then the country cannot be successful without the youth, because we are the success of our future.
Looking from a youth standpoint, what can I start to do today to guarantee my tomorrow?
Never give up, never lose hope. This is our country, this is our future. If anything, we are the largest stakeholders of our country. Policy failures of today will affect our generation the most, and our children and grandchildren's generation. Therefore, in a world where we are more interconnected than ever, we cannot simply silence ourselves and shut our ears, because the failures of today will affect us more than ever.